And here we are. Welcome to the 50/50 hour, guys. I'm Claudia Gibson. This is my special guest, Reggie Harris. I'm going to introduce in just a moment. We are thrilled you're joining us. You will see we have extensive holiday decorations going on today. I have a little tree that it's like the Charlie Brown tree. Hi, Reggie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Claudia?
I'm great. You're coming to us from New York State. And,
I am upstate.
And I'm out here. You really are upstate. When I lived in Cold Spring, everyone was like, oh, you live upstate. And, it's like, no, that's just an hour north. You're upstate. You're not Buffalo. But
I'm mid-state, actually. As we have discussed, there's a whole lot more state up above where I am.
Yes, we have. And, as soon as, you start playing, I'll grab my phone because I had a couple things on it. Everything, went flying just as we had that up. Please stand by before. But anyway, I am going to let people know who you are because for those of, my friends and followers who are tuning in who don't know who you are, you're my guest of honor. And you're a singer-songwriter, yes. You've been joyfully writing and singing about us humans, what we have in common, what makes us tick, our joys, our shames, our spirits for most of your life. And and so Reggie's informal title, bestowed by his fans, is, I love this, the Ambassador of Joy, Hope, and Freedom. That's just awesome. Prior to the COVID lockdown, Reggie was a road warrior. He played over 250 dates a year all over the country, and he's not afraid to dive into subjects that others may find uncomfortable and present them in a way that's thought-provoking and joyful. And in addition to your solo music concerts, Reggie, you've partnered with Greg Greenway for a show called Deeper Than the Skin, a musical presentation on race in America, which I'm going to ask you about in a little bit. But in addition to his music shows, Reggie also brings his skills to schools and places of learning as an educator and has led songwriting workshops and music camps, including Summer Songs, Boston Summer Acoustic Music Week, People's Music Network, and the Swannanoa Gathering. And I was introduced to Reggie as a fellow guest on our mutual friend Andy Rebkin's weekly online show called Sustain What? The Unbroken Circle, Song and Story Swap, which is on Sunday mornings. And I was just bowled over by his wonderful songs and energy and eagerness to dive into subjects that others shy away from. So I'm honored to have you, Reggie, as my guest this month on the 50/50 hour. Thank you for joining us.
Well, I am thrilled to be here. And, the love affair was mutual, as you know. The first time I met with you on that wonderful show, and you did a song, I thought, oh, my word. Just such insightful writing and such a wonderful perspective, with, the wonderful guitar arrangements you do. And it's, we're all usually out on the road and we don't get to see that many of our fellow songwriters. And of course, you're down there in Texas. So
I'm down in Texas.
I don't
it's a
get
whole
there too
different
much.
Scene. Yeah. Well, you'll have to change that because now you get a place to stay. So I'm going to ask you to start off, and I'm going to make you look big, and I'm going to shut up. And what's your first song going to be?
I think I'm going to do a song that ties into what you were just saying. I did evolve into a songwriter who takes on issues, and certainly I have a lot of role models in that line of work. And one, of course, who I first heard about when I was in second grade. My second grade teacher came in one day and said, "Children, we're going to sing a song by a man who travels around and writes songs about it." And she mentioned the name Woody Guthrie, and I was off and running. You were born with the heart of a cowboy. Oh, Kima, the place you began. Right from the start, the road called to your heart, so you set off to discover the land. You hitched and you rode and you rambled, with a passion that burned to be free. And you lifted the stories of all that you met from the Dust Bowl of humanity. So roll on, Woody, roll on. You taught us well by singing your song. And now we're here to carry it on. Roll on, Woody, roll on. Yes, roll on, Woody, roll on. You taught us well by singing your song. And now we're here to carry it on. Roll on, Woody, roll on. Roll on, Woody, roll on. From the miners, the old and the young, to the refugee women and men, you made your name by exposing the games that kept good folks facing the wind. And in all of your years of hard traveling, you often said you had no choice. Your words made it clear, don't you give in to fear, and speak out so they hear your voice. And roll on, Woody, roll on. You took a stand by singing your song. And now we're here to carry it on. Roll on, Woody, roll on. Yes, roll on, Woody, roll on. You took a stand by singing your song. And now we're here to carry it on. Roll on, Woody, roll on. Roll on, Woody, roll on. From the pastures of plenty to Columbia shores, from the mountains right down to the sea, you said that this land was our land to have, and it's a land made for you and for me. Oh, but now, dear Woody, the tables are turned as the forces of hate try to win. Oh, but we're bound for glory, we're up to this fight, and we won't be denied in the end. And let's roll on, Woody, roll on. You gave us hope by singing your song, and now we're here to carry it on. Roll on, Woody, roll on. Oh yes, roll on, Woody, roll on. You gave us hope by singing your song, and now we're here to carry it on. Roll on, Woody, roll on. Roll on, Woody, roll on. Oh yes, Woody, roll on.
Woo! Yeah, wonderful. Well, I'm popping our logo up there. Let me turn my hear myself. I can always hear myself less than other people. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
And you know, it's funny because I think, you know, we all had that experience, a lot of us growing up in this country. The first time you were kind of, you know, hustled into music room, or the music teacher, when I was little, used to roll the piano around.
Oh, really?
And yeah, that was, and she must have been, she was older too, and she rolled that old piano around, you know, with the handles on the back, those old school pianos.
Oh, yeah.
And we all came into a room and sang, you know, she came in and we all sang "This Land Is Your Land," and I'm like, oh, this is a great song. And then they had the little thing in the book of who wrote this song. And Woody Guthrie was a traveling, songwriter. And I was like, wow, that's so interesting. Like you can do that. It kind of seemed like Johnny Appleseed or something. But
it never even dawned on me. I had no context for, well, first of all, people traveling around. I mean, I remember that, suddenly you have this vision. They're redwood trees. And it wasn't, I mean, these are the old days. We didn't do cross-reference, lessons. We didn't do a lesson with the art teacher, for example. And the music teacher in my school, growing up, Grover Cleveland Elementary, was actually my classroom teacher.
Oh, so they did both.
Yeah, and we had those big wooden doors that you could roll back and forth.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I loved reading about how, because I had a similar experience, but you had kind of a seminal music experience joining the ninth grade choir, just hearing them come out and saying, "This is what I have to do. I have to do this," and kind of pushed your way in, even though they'd already chosen. But it's true. They always need tenors, right?
They do. I counted them. The basses had about 20 guys, and the tenors had about 10.
Yeah.
And and that whole thing. I mean, to have a choir walk into an auditorium, and I'm just sitting there, and the principal was talking or whatever, and I'm a ninth grader, and I'm just kind of still new to this big school, and suddenly to hear that choir launch into, I still remember the song they sang. It was this song, "Hola, What a Good Echo." And I just said, I need to be in that group. I was supposed to actually join the orchestra, and I heard that, and I said, no, I'm going to join the choir.
I had the opposite experience of that. I heard fifth grade, the string quartet came and played Vivaldi, and I said, oh, I want to play the cello. But my mom took a look at it, and she said, no, she was a single mom. Dad wasn't sending money, and she said, no, we can't afford the cello. So then I was like, okay, I'll pick up guitar and start playing.
Wow.
But and then I have a cello back there. I tried learning this summer. It didn't work out so well. Here's a cool thing. You have friends watching. Which was really nice to be referred to as a great American voice is wonderful. And we have people from all over. My friend Patty Dixon from Texas, another fine songwriter.
Wow,
she says hi. So, yeah. So, and I wanted to remind people that little thing going across the bottom. It not only has information about our websites, reggieharrismusic.com and claudiagibson.com, but also if you're so inclined to, throw a few coins in the tip jar, we're always gratefully appreciative of that. My very first gig was for tips, and here I am years later.
We never get too far away, do we?
No, we were talking about that, weren't we? About how it's that same,
were.
It's, the rate hasn't changed in many decades. But I was wondering what I was going to do for my first song. And your Woody Guthrie reminded me of my own connection with Woody Fest, which is like just an awesome thing. Have you been to Woody Fest?
I've never been.
Yeah,
no.
It's very hot, but it's very cool.
That's kind of where I've never been.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful though. And I decided to enter the Woody Guthrie Song Contest, and I entered it the last possible minute. And then I found out I won. Like, I forgot all about it, and I hadn't, been having much success. And I went out to Kerrville camping and came back, and I'm driving back. I'm like, is this ever going to happen? I've been plugging away at this for, because I kind of restarted things about 5 years ago. And then I opened my email, and there was like, hey, congratulations. You won the Woody Guthrie Songwriting Contest. And I'd forgotten I even entered it. So I was like kind of pointing at the phone, and my husband came in, and he's like, what? And I'm like, ah. So anyway. And I got to go out and play a set on a Saturday night, on the big main stage at a music festival, which was kind of like, dream come true. Yeah, the sun was setting. It's lovely. So it was great. So the song I wrote for that is doubly meaningful to me because just recently the Dreamer Act, DACA, was declared a go again by, and I'm about to start coughing, so before I sing the song I have to drink water. But it was declared a go, and so people can apply again. And DACA, I work in a high school during the day, and DACA has some of the, we have had some of their kids, and they are the best and the brightest. So I'm going to make myself look big and for this one, because I can do that. And those of you who are watching, we would love if you would comment in, like, where are you listening from? Because we can share your comments. I can do that because I'm producing too. So anyway, this song is called Dreamers. You know, I never do this, but I'm really sorry. I have to, because something is wrong with my capo and I gotta reset it. So let's just erase that. This is Dreamers. She has walked through desert sands, huddled down inside a truck, clutching at her mama's hands, both praying for a little luck. Crawling underneath barbed wire, he was barely 3 years old. Daddy carried him for miles, not a peep, just like he was told. Dreamers, they have lived here all their lifetime, in this land they call home. All of their school days and every friend's face are from this place, the only life they've known. Growing up between 2 worlds, homework, friends, and football games, knowing just one traffic stop would leave her life forever changed. Go to college, find a job, serve your country, make your way. Choices that he cannot make when it's a fight just to remain. Dreamers, they have lived here all their lifetime. This country is their home, all of their school days and every friend's face are from this place, the only life they've known. For into the land where they were born, could it be the dreams they share are big enough for us all? For us all. Dreamers, they have lived here all their lifetime. This country is their home, all of their school days and every friend's face are from this place, the only life they've known.
Wow.
Thank you. Thanks.
Oh, man. I tell you, you're taking on issues quite well. The I love the way you intertwine the arrangements of that you create on the guitar with your melody lines. It lifts the lyric into a really
Thank you.
honored place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's funny. Well, I won't even get into that. But like sometimes I've sent off lyrics for critiques or just entered them in things, and you get back an interesting, you get back an interesting array of stuff.
Well, you're being very, very diplomatic, I will say.
But it's like I don't know why, but maybe it's because when I was younger, I had some pretty tough teachers. When I started playing guitar, I started taking lessons from like New York jazz guys, and they were just like merciless. No, you don't quite have it, That you really fell apart with that, And I never took it personally. So when I went off to music school, and because like when things are bad, and I just never got upset about about someone saying this or that, because sometimes I'll take it like, yeah, okay, that's an interesting take, or I just don't think that's valid. So you kind of, or sometimes it's like, you're actually right about that. That was a weak line. And I really sometimes like going to really, really good song people every couple of years. I'll put myself through, playing a song for a Nashville publisher, a few that I know, and they'll zero it right in on the one that you hope they don't notice, the little line, and they're like, that could be a little stronger. I like the rest, but that's a little, so yeah.
Well, actually, no. I mean, some of those come back, and you just, I have a song that I wrote when my mother died, and so I sent it off to a song contest, and so I'd already been playing this song for a couple of years, and I would play it, and literally 5 people, 6 people were weeping by the second.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the thing that came back was I remember this comment. They said, "You need to get to the chorus faster." I don't quite know how to do that.
Well, yeah, especially when it's something so near and dear to your heart.
Well, yeah, I certainly got that, but you're trying to unfold a moment here. You're trying to tell a story,
and you're trying to tell something also. At least, I mean, I know you do, and I'm trying to also. The best songs I feel are always something that is kind of universal, like an empathy that someone could either recognize themselves or someone they know in the song, or feel like, oh yeah, And I think it's always good when people cry when you play a song, because that means that you've really touched them. I wanted to ask you though, because I'm so curious about this thing that you were doing. Mm-hmm. I had it over here because I wrote it down because I wanted to ask you about it. The Deeper Than the Skin, the thing you're doing with Greg Greenway.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
that is just, how did that come about? The musical presentation on race in America. I mean, like, wow, that's, and it sounds fascinating.
Well, it has been fascinating. Greg and I have known each other for about 30 years, 35 years. We lost track somewhere. We met actually doing a Phil Oak song night in New York City.
Oh, wow.
And we got talking that night, and we were in the green room waiting because there were a lot of people on the bill. And so we're back there talking, and probably about sports, and guy things,
I talk about sports too. But.
Well, see, there you go. Now I'm in your circle, so.
Right.
But when we just sort of covered some other things, and then I found out he was from Virginia, and originally he was living in Boston at the time.
Okay.
And we started exchanging information, and before I knew it, half the night was over, and we were talking about race. Yeah. And, these are the 90s, and I just didn't find that many musicians, particularly white musicians, who really, on an off night, would be wanting to talk about race.
There's
I found out
I
found out he was from, Richmond, the cradle of the Confederacy, and he grew up there feeling, seeing, and coming alive. He was hearing Richie Havens and Eric Anderson, and he zeroed him in on music and race. So we started these conversations, and so years passed, and we're friends. And about 5-6 years ago, our lives kind of opened up. He got out of a group, and I, got separated from my partner of 40 years, and we said, let's take a trip. And we decided to take the trip to Louisiana to go to the Whitney Plantation.
Oh, wow. I was right nearby, that one.
Yeah. Well, we went there and we had a 23-hour drive to get there. We had a week there in New Orleans, went to the plantation, and then a 23-hour drive back. And all the way we said, we need to do something with this. So what we decided to do was to tell each of our stories. He being a white kid growing up in the South, me being a black kid growing up in the North. And then I found out years later that my family comes from the master having 6 children by one of his people, his enslaved people, a woman named Bibana. And so I am literally descendant of a slave master and a slave. And we decided to put that together and talk about how our stories not only rose through a separate narrative, but how our friendship has connected us.
That's amazing.
And then the show just kind of came, and we've been doing it for the last 5 years.
And did you write songs expressly for the show, or did you kind of gather up stuff, or both?
We gathered some stuff. We've written stuff. He wrote an amazing song called The Skin I'm In. Mm-hmm. And I had written a song called Hickory Hill from the day that I went to Ashland, Virginia with my Wickham cousin, Lisa, and walked on the plantation ground.
And that's amazing. And I'm gonna share something, if I can, just for a sec. This is, I've seen this before, but this was...
That's General Wickham.
Yeah, there he is. And he kind of fell over a little bit. Kind of had a little incident, and then somebody peed on him, and
yeah. It's like,
but it's an interesting article, and if anyone wants to check it out, it's in the New York Times, and you were in there too, and you were mentioned. And I'm going to stop
we had
sharing
a conversation with that, and then as a result of that, ended up talking to Don Lemon on CNN on a podcast with my cousin Clayton Wickham.
Wow.
Talking about this relationship that we now have, and with my cousin Lisa and my cousin Wallace. We are, this summer actually, during the pandemic, I hosted the first Wickham-Hewlett cross-family gathering on Zoom.
Wow.
And
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been an amazing story. And
well,
this show, we were doing all around the country. And the songs that have come out of it and the stories that have come out of it really are talking and tagging into a lot of what is rising up around the country. And, certainly General Wickham met his demise, at least the statue, because the protesters attacked the park and were taking down statues. So.
That's amazing. Well, were you planning on playing one of those songs?
Actually, I'm going to play Hickory Hill. Yeah,
all right.
It's the song that Lisa... my cousin, that was the first Wickham that I was in touch with, and she offered to take me to the property where our families started, and right in Ashland, Virginia, about 10 minutes off of I-95, we jumped over a small fence and had this amazing hour and a half walking on the plantation ground. In one of those moments that I was not prepared for, because even though I have been talking about that time period and talking about the connections that we all had as Americans in slavery, or the disconnect, getting to that property and seeing that house for the first time literally just took me out for 10 minutes. But then we walked the land and had ourselves a day of embracing the past and the present at Hickory Hill. Barren fields to the horizon, ghosts of autumn catch the wind, memories of those saints and sinners gather round to on us once again. Now we're finally here together, standing silent face to face. Secret family undercover, born of shame, saved by hope and grace. Hickory Hill, we're on hallowed ground, walking side by side, wondering what we found. Hearts break open wide across the great divide. I can see the questions in your eyes now that we are home again. They celebrate the grand illusion, and they write it up for all to see. But in that mystery of confusion, there lies a truth that might one day set us free. So now our stories come together across these fields of broken dreams, and the blood that binds us all together is indeed much thicker than it seems. Oh, Hickory Hill, we're on hallowed ground, walking side by side, wondering what we found. Hearts break open wide across the great divide. Can you see the questions in my eyes now that we are home again? We are home again. Oh, Hickory Hill, we're on solid ground, standing side by side, wondering what we found. Hearts break open wide across the great divide. Can you hear those demons as they die now that we are home again?
Beautiful. That's just beautiful. And it's funny because I think the conversation, and I love that you're doing this show, that it started from a conversation, and there are conversations, about race, about our country's history and legacy, that I think they just have to be, they have to be held. And to have you bring it up in a song is such a great way. And I was kind of like, when you said, oh, we went to Whitney Plantation, I had a similar experience. And it ended up with, it kind of inspired me to write too. But But my husband's family, the Gibsons, they were, we always thought they were just from Boston and New England and New York. And it turns out when I started doing some, studying for my master's and doing some genealogy study, they were actually Southern aristocrats who came into Louisiana right after the Louisiana Purchase, bought up a lot of land, started sugar plantations, and bought a lot of slaves. And so, and then reading the history, and they became very wealthy. And except they were kind of known, they were sort of on the outs with their neighbors because they were known as being too friendly and nice to their slaves. So, like people like to think, oh, they were the nice slave owners. Well, no, they had slaves. That wasn't nice. It was very bad. But Harlan's great-grandfather became a general in the Confederacy. But then afterwards, he had gone to Yale, and he had, had a lot of Northern friends. So he wanted afterwards to he said it was really important for the country to unite again, and that he was glad that slavery was gone. He was, they were still racists, but he became a congressman and a senator, and it was an interesting and very complicated legacy. And at one point, I found myself out at Tulane University, where both my boys had gone, and which Senator Gibson had helped found. But I went through a box, and I knew it was a box of family papers, and I went to this archive library, like up on the 5th floor of some building. Yeah. They handed me a box and it was family papers, and I opened it up, and I took out these pieces of paper. They were titles like you would have to a car, but they were to human beings. They were sales. They were bills of sale, but they only had first names on them. And one was Moses, one was Martha. There were other names too. And I think I was wearing gloves to handle it, but I still, like you said, when you got I still just got the chills. And so at one point in driving back from New Orleans a couple summers ago, I had this kind of experience, and I'm just gonna share just to show you this, because I think it's so strange that I'm gonna, let's see, going right over here. Yeah, that's where we're going. So bear with me. So I also went out to a plantation, and this was Evergreen Plantation, which is very close to Whitney Plantation. And I just kind of happened upon it because I said to my husband, is there a historical plantation around? And he said, yes, there's this one. And when I went there, it was right before the start of a thunderstorm. And I kind of described the whole story. That's on my website. But the picture, you know what it looks like down there, and it's creepy. It's super creepy. And I also had this just feeling that when we were walking, like looking into these deserted cabins that were devoid of any signs of life, except for a couple guys like doing landscaping, which I thought was so strange, but and incongruous. But it seemed like they were just muffled voices there that would never really tell the whole stories of what these lives were. And I wanted so desperately to hear them. And but it was almost like trying to look, being somewhere and looking through a lens of very thick, distorted glass. Like you just, it's there, and these things happen there, but you're never going to get the whole story. But what was interesting was when I came back, and this big storm started, and it was like really like this biblical, bayou storm came in. But when I came back, I realized, I have to write a song tonight. It was Sunday night, and I got to write a song for my group, and the theme. And I had been so affected by this. I said, I want to somehow write about this. But the prompt was evil eye. I'm like, how am I gonna weave this in? There's no way, So I Googled it, and it turned out I found this whole blog, this story, stories. Well, it wasn't actually a story. It was an academic paper on how the African religions came over and were so strong among the slaves in Louisiana. They would carry around little beads in their pocket, little blue beads to ward off the evil eye. And there was still, this in the middle of this kind of terrible, despairing place where there was no escape from. There was no Underground Railroad. Harriet Tubman was not coming down there. There was no escaping. You ran off into the woods, and and that was about it. But there was still this little holdover, So it was, and it made it a little more personal for me to imagine someone going into the pocket of their apron or pants and fingering this bead to maybe make their day a little better. So anyway, I ended up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say I carry some little stones with me, for very much the same reason. I change them out every day, and I know about that, that tradition, and
I didn't know that.
People, regardless of where we are, our families start or where our origins are, people. I always say this to kids when I'm, doing shows in schools. Regardless of what you do to people, they always have history, they always have culture, and they always have tradition.
Yeah.
And you can strip them down of anything, that they might physically own, but that stays in there.
It does.
And they, if you're smart in your oppression, you will use that to stay grounded, which is exactly what they did. And then they rose out of that by creating the spirituals.
Well, and what
eventually the blues.
What was interesting too was in these papers they're just first names,
yeah.
And the legacy was like, oh, there's just first names. They didn't have, well, they did have last names. They just didn't always share them with the master.
Right.
They would have last names among themselves, which is what I was reading, and it was just kind of that there was this whole society that we that we kind of have pieced together, and I'm sure some of it's been come down orally, and but yeah. Anyway,
I wonder if Gibson knew Wickham.
I don't know, but here's another odd thing. Of course, they probably did. The other odd thing was that Gibson is right near Thibodeau, which is my maiden name. So there's just too many odd coincidences.
Yeah, there really are.
Yeah.
You can't write about them all.
You can't write about them all. But anyway, I ended up writing this song called Louisiana Sky, and the last very odd thing about it was and it ended up being the title of the EP I put out last year, and I knew the cover that I wanted. I wanted to have the sky kind of be looking threatening, and I wanted a bridge in there because when you went over that bridge, when you drive over that bridge from the mainland to the bayou, it's like all of a sudden you enter into this different sort of world over there. And so I found a picture on Flickr, and it was perfect, and I wrote to the man who was a photographer who took it, and he gave me permission. He charged me a very tiny amount of money. And then he said, yeah, well, my wife and I were traveling around plantations because she's a descendant of both slaves and slave owners, and we went around to plantations and found them really depressing and weird, and had the same experience you did. And so he said, yeah, I'd really like you to use that on the cover, which I did. So anyway, I'm going to play Louisiana Sky.
Great.
Which is the name of the song. And let's make me look big. And let's mute Reggie for now. Miles from nowhere, city lights left behind, just me and the highway in Louisiana sky. I heard the past come a-calling like a voice from up high, saying we all once lived here under Louisiana sky. Crossed a bridge over the bayou, sugarcane rose tall and wide, plantation cabins down an old gravel road. There's ghosts in the live oaks telling tales from old souls. Blue beads in their pockets to keep off the evil eye. Couldn't lift them to freedom under Louisiana sky. Moses, Martha, and a child. Life stories left here in cypress and stone, once flesh and blood, now dust and bone. Clouds darkened and swirled down, lightning crackled and cried. Tears of history were streaming from Louisiana sky. Cabins empty and dusty, voices still by the time. I said a prayer to the nameless in the Louisiana sky. Said you won't be forgotten under Louisiana skies.
Oh, wow. Oh, you got that one. You captured that one.
Thank you.
I'm sitting here thinking, oh man,
I know it's frustrating, but we will.
Louisiana
Oh, it'd be great. It'd be great. Yeah, and it's funny. That's a song. I have a friend, Anna Larson, who's a wonderful Texas, Austin singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot of gigs together in here. She plays keyboard, and I love it sounds so nice to have a keyboard and a guitar together.
Yeah.
And she'll play on it and sing harmony, and yeah, I love that. Would be great to have you do harmony. Well, you got to come down here for a show, because my husband has a beautiful garden, and he built a little stage in it during all this.
Oh,
and
wow.
so we're going to have garden concerts when this is all over. And we have a lovely little, now that my kids have moved out, we have lovely spare rooms to stay in that don't look like teenager rooms. But
I'm happy to come visit and sing, and
yeah. And then we can just swap songs just for
That's
a
really
garden audience.
It's amazing. Years ago at a Folk Alliance, late in the night, how the guerrilla showcases go all night.
Yeah.
And I was walking down the hall, and I just remember that I came across, it was about 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and I came across this room, and just a couple of songwriters were in there, and I came in, and we sat until the sun came up. And what we agreed to do is just to do all the songs that we can never fit in a set.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you have songs that, that have a lot of emotion, or just are intricate in some way emotionally, and maybe you can't get in and out of them quickly. It's just not, in the course of an evening, they just never seem to fit in the set that you're doing. So that night, that's what we did. There were about 4 of us, and
that's awesome.
And we just kept going back and forth. Okay, this is one I almost never do, and there are just gems that are in there. With a lot of people's CDs, I always like to go for the off songs.
Yeah.
The ones that aren't getting pushed.
Yeah,
so
and
that's a good song.
That's a great. I always am afraid of bumming people out too much, because I tend to I find I had I've written 3 songs about dead people in a row, so I had to retire the Dead trilogy for a while.
Well, I don't know if you know Steve Gillette at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Steve told his wife Cindy that there's only 2 open caskets in a night. So. Just like with comedians, there's only so many laughs in a room.
Yep. Well, on that note, what do you have for us next, Mr. Harris?
Well, I thought I'd go ahead of about 200 years and pick up a song that I wrote. It's going to be on my next CD, actually, which will be coming out in March. I'm actively recording it now, off and on, trying to safely record in this COVID pandemic. But I was early on, I do a lot of work, as I said, with the Living Legacy Project, and we go to these places in Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia. And in Selma, Alabama, of course, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and also the cemetery where the ghosts are still very prominent. And I went by the courthouse in Selma, and I was remembering C.T. Vivian standing on that courthouse steps, pointing his finger in the face of Jim Clark, and saying, "We are willing to be beaten for democracy," as people lined up behind him, teachers and doctors and ordinary folks, all dressed in their Sunday best. African Americans who were being denied the vote, and Jim Clark wouldn't let them in, and that's why he pointed his finger. And that is a very powerful image on YouTube that anybody can find. I was thinking of that, and I wrote this song called "Standing in Freedom's Name." Selma, Alabama, 1965. A group of people standing in the rain. They come for resolution that was missing from their lives. Come to see the terror and the pain. For 100 years of beating, abusing savage lives, fighting segregation and despair. They came in hope, believing that the world would hear their cries. One man stuck his finger in the air. That we're willing to be beaten, we will never go away. Did you hear what we had to say? We will never go back, we will never go back. Got our eyes on the prize, got this train on the track. We are here in freedom's name, and there's nothing you can do to make us wear those chains again. We stand here remembering that moment in a future where we say that we are free. But the forces of evil and oppression are still here for every open eye to see. We are fighting in the battle for a lifetime, taking down those hated symbols one by one. Like our elders, we're fighting for our future. In their names we will do what must be done. We will never be defeated, we will never go away. Did you hear what we had to say? We will never go back, we will never go back. Got our eyes on the prize, got this train on the track. We are here in freedom's name, and there's nothing you can do to make us wear those chains. We can never go back, we will never go back. Got our eyes on the prize, got this train on the track. We are here in freedom's name, and there's nothing you can do to make us wear those chains. Singing freedom, singing freedom, singing freedom. We are here in freedom's name, singing freedom, singing freedom, singing freedom. We are here in freedom's name. We will never go back, we will never go back. Got our eyes on the prize, got this train on the track. We are here in freedom's name, and there's nothing you can do to make us wear those chains again. Freedom.
Woo! And that's going to be on your new CD.
It's going to be on my new CD. The CD's called On Solid Ground, and you know, it was written during pretty much all of it was written during this pandemic. I started writing it when I got home in March. Wrote the last song probably in September, and I also cover some other songs in there. A song by John Prine, and took on a song by the Beatles.
Yeah.
But it's been a very fertile time to watch what's happening in the world, as I'm sure with you as well. Just
It's
things
been
rising.
crazy, yeah. I mean, the only thing I can think of correlation in my lifetime was when I was young, was 1968, but this leaves that kind of in the dust this year. I mean, this is, and I thought that was the craziest year I've ever, and I was a little kid. I remember like my mom was watching the Democratic convention and watching people getting dragged off and beaten while she's, ironing clothes, because she was a total political junkie.
Wow.
Yeah. And, but this is just crazy. So it's really nice that you were able to channel that into songs. I mean, I've written a few, but I'm more like now I'm gonna start putting things together. But it's wonderful. Are you recording? Did you record that with a band?
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say I hear a band. I hear the congas. I hear percussion going crazy on that, and guitars.
It's pretty live.
Good. Good.
I just got John Platania, who has played on a bunch of my songs over the years, but we haven't seen each other for years. But in the pandemic, we made contact, and he's played with Van Morrison and Bonnie Raitt and all these people.
Oh, wow!
So I sent him the track, and I said, "I think this is calling for you."
This one has your name on it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing you had mentioned, which I'm also going to put up here, is about your civil rights project, Living Legacy. And you're going to be sponsoring some monthly concerts starting, and I love the date, January 24th, because that's my youngest son's birthday. It's a great day to have a show.
Well, how about that?
Yeah, and is it going to be Are these concerts going to be streaming?
They'll be streamed. People can get information. The information's not out quite yet, but it'll start in January 24th. And this comes off the heels of a 6-month voting rights series that our Living Legacy project did.
Awesome.
And so we had some amazing speakers starting in May. Some of the icons of the civil rights movement, Flonzie Brown Wright and Joyce Ladner and Ellie Dahmer and 4 astounding young people from Tougaloo College in Jackson, Mississippi, talking about voting rights, the struggle and the history and all of that, and then leading us up to the voting. And we did the last. And the last thing we did for that series was do a concert with Greg Greenway and with Melanie DeMore and Issei Barnwell of Sweet Honey in the Rock.
I love
So
Sweet
in
Honey
January,
in the Rock,
we're going to kick off a concert series that'll go once a month, and then once a month we'll also have a speaker series.
Wonderful.
And so people can go to the livinglegacy.org.
livinglegacy.org.
And I think Melanie DeMore is actually coming back for the first one, along with a really fabulous Sparky Rucker, who was part of the civil rights movement in the 60s, and amazing songwriter and historian, he and his wife Rhonda. And there's somebody else that I can't remember who's also going to be part of that. And then every month we'll have a couple of musicians, or maybe 3.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
It sounds wonderful, and I can't wait to see it. Well, this is only supposed to be an hour, but it's my show, so I'm going to do one, and then I'm going to ask you to play one after that. Because I had so much fun chatting that I guess we've gone a little long, but that's the whole point of it. We've had a good time. Yeah, definitely. And so I'm gonna do a new song too that I haven't recorded yet. It came off of a. I find it really good to be in a songwriting group. Right now I got kicked out because I didn't produce last week, but it's the it's called Songwriter University. It's a really fun thing that we do, a group of us, a lot of people in Austin, but there's one guy in New York State. I think he's from around Rochester, yeah. But people from just all over, and we there's one person who's the professor, and it runs like 8 or 10 weeks, and the professor throws out the prompt, and sometimes he'll be really tricky and say you have to have this song form, or you have to have this in there. So there's a little bit of a tricky challenge, which us songwriters all like, because then we go, ooh, okay. And because sometimes it can really inspire you, and you end up with something that you never, like, I would never have ended up with Evil Eye in that song and learned something, about a whole culture if I hadn't had that. But this song that I ended up writing, I changed the line after I submitted it, because you have to, write the song and then upload it and record it and upload it, and by Sunday night at midnight. And so anyway, I knew I wanted to write a song that was kind of old-timey, like Carter Family type feel. Even maybe a little bit gospel, even though I don't. I told you before, I'm such a mongrel. I'm such a religion mongrel. I have a Jewish mom and Catholic dad, and we were brought up going to Unitarian. And But I think this song kind of ends up sort of gospel-y. Anyway, it's called Shine On, and it's a good song for me to end with, and we'll hear one more from Reggie right afterwards. Cast your old cares away at the end of the day. Lay down beside me and close weary eyes. When our work here is done, we will fly to the sun and shine on forever in light. Sometimes the world feels so heavy, the burden of years as we toil and we strive, when luck is not even or steady. Keep your hand on the tiller and eyes on the prize. Cast your old cares away at the end of the day, and lay down beside me and close weary eyes. When our work here is done, we will fly to the sun and shine on forever in light. Lifetime companion, for better or worse, we have carved out a life. Now love can bridge rivers and canyons. Take my hand and together we'll cross that divide. Cast your old cares away at the end of the day, lay down beside me and close weary eyes. When our work here is done, we will fly to the sun and shine on forever in light, and shine on you. And I was halfway into that first verse and realized my capo was like a step or two too low, but I didn't want to break the mood, so I just went with it.
I wouldn't have noticed.
I know. See, there you go. Right?
No, it's I was thinking it fits right into the same line. I love the range of your writing.
Thank you.
Some
really means a lot.
Morning, when this life is over, I'll fly
away. Yep.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was there's a universal thing. I think, we all feel burdened, right now. These past few months, whether, people who have been ill or lost people or just have lost their routines or have been feeling threatened by all the political violence, by
those who are launching physical violence.
Yeah, and by everything, and it's just it's an upheaval time, and the thought of just kind of lying down and resting was appealing to me. So I wanted to first of all, before you do your last tune, thank you so much for coming on this show, because we're just a little show, but I enjoy talking to songwriters so much, and songwriters like to talk about songs, and I kind of wish we had longer than that, and to just kind of really, talk more about, but we will. At some point we'll meet up again at a Focal Lines thing or whatever, and chat, and sometimes those late night dinners or those conversations you have in hallways when you're both sitting on the floor, I've really it's really helped me to become inspired again about music since I started back up again. And I miss that, But
well, welcome back.
well, thank you. But I miss the the kind of sort of the interaction and just I don't think that people who are not haven't been to those sort of events realize, like, when you have a hallway, a hotel room that's been transformed into little small private showcases, and you just walk down the hall, and it's kind of like a little tiny tiny Beale Street or whatever, but it's folk music, where you just go into one club after another, and and it's you one room after another, and you hear people, and you can hear everything from Irish jigs to to contemporary stuff to everything, and it's amazing.
It's called folk music for a reason, and I think the thing that we often forget, because a lot of us started out as songwriters hoping for that big break, and to, be out there playing for millions of people and, being, Beyonce or something or whatever. And, that obviously does a lot of good in the world. But as you mentioned, when we go to those conferences and those gatherings and you go from room to room and you see the wealth and the depth of perspective that people bring to their writing. I was really blessed somewhere early in my career when I was at actually a National Association of Campus Activities convention to hear James Baldwin give a speech one night. And of course we were all there trying to get work, and we were all nervous that we weren't going to get enough gigs to make it worth being there. And if I know we did get work, but what he said that night changed my life. It changed my life as a human being, and it changed my life as a musician. He said, the role of the artist is to see the world and to then take that into your filter and to share through your filter, whatever your discipline is, what you see. And I remember at the moment as he was saying that, I looked at my friend Michael Galesian, who is this wonderful fingerstyle guitarist, and we were both sitting there, and we kind of thought, oh yeah, and he's talking about us. We're artists. We're important. And then he said, what you see in the world will be sometimes beautiful and sometimes horrific. What you see sometimes are things that need desperately to be changed. You need to show those things as well to the world. And sometimes people will not love you for sharing it, but that is the job of an artist. And that just pricked something in me. I didn't know what at the point. But, we go through those hallways and we hear all of those things represented in ways that would not be played on the radio.
Exactly.
Because in many times they're just too powerful. And
yeah.
So I hear
beautiful.
the way you translate songs. I hear the way, other friends, and we have the opportunity to get together and hear all those things. And it does at 3 a.m, sitting there with somebody, maybe in the lobby of the hotel, and they say, I want to play you this song. I remember when I got a call from my friend Zoe Mulford, and she said, I've written this song. I don't know that I have the right to write this song. And she played for me, The President Sang Amazing Grace. And I said, oh my God, please go on. No, you do that, but it's those are the moments when you just feel so blessed to know that people are in the world doing that. And, sometimes we're doing it for, 300 people, 1,000 people. Sometimes we're doing it for 5. Yeah. It really doesn't matter.
I've more had the experience of 5 than 300, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I tell you, some of the most amazing concerts that I've been privileged to give. I remember one in Saginaw, Michigan. There were 2 people in the audience. Both of them had driven some hours to get there. And when I saw that there were 2 people there, I looked out and I said, really don't want to do this, but, here they are.
Yeah.
And what a night we had.
Oh, yeah, that's, I've been to shows like that where it's a very small turnout and you feel bad for the artist, and yet the great artists won't just say, well, it's not big enough, and, give me a drink and I'm getting out of here. They see it as an opportunity, and can be really special, and you just feel like, oh, I wish there were more people here to see this,
Yeah.
And yeah, I've had the experience of playing, with other people sometimes, because I love it when I can hire musicians, but those gigs are hard, especially in Austin. Well, right now they're not happening, but because especially when you're in a town where there's a lot, any given night of the week, there's just so much music going on.
Yeah.
So it's, it can be tough, and you look over and you're having a great time, and then you look out and you see there's two people, but then someone walks up to you and said, that song really meant a lot to me, or, I just love this. And, so it's like, that's important. Hey, you've got some people saying hi
to
cool. you. Let's see. Marilyn Lindsay, so she says, miss your laugh, but here it is. And she had made a comment too about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and people are wishing us Merry Christmas.
Oh.
And and Marilyn was there saying you were sounding good.
Oh my goodness, there's a childhood friend. Hey, Peaches.
Yeah, Peaches. There you go. People are saying hello.
Let me just share one more story.
And that's my husband.
Oh, well, yeah.
He was saying that about your song, not mine. He's heard mine over and over. He's heard them all over.
You mentioned, years ago when we were first starting out in the 70s, we used to go down and street perform in Philadelphia. And one night we, pushed ourselves out because literally we were making it through the summer by street performing. The grocers
busking,
would be, busking. And so we went down to this restaurant in town and had this big area, and it was a Thursday night I will never forget. And we had to push each other out of the house because, it's Thursday night, and we knew that there weren't going to be a lot of people downtown Philadelphia, and so we went anyway. And we figured if we make $25, we make $25. And so we went and we put our little thing out, and people came by, and, very few people, and we were right by the door. And at one point, we'd been singing for a couple of hours and feeling kind of discouraged, and this guy came out of the restaurant, and he sat on this little ledge, and he listened, and he just sat there. And we sang, and he, after each song, he didn't really even applaud. He just said, nice song. And then after about the fourth song, he got up, and he came over, and he just dropped what I thought was, $10 bill. And he turned to us both, and he said, I'm here in town to fire 600 people in a factory.
Oh.
I don't know really how I'm going to feel. I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but that's my job, and that's what I'm doing tomorrow. But thank you so much for the songs that you sang. They at least gave me some hope that something will go well. And then he came in the restaurant, and I looked in that bucket, and he dropped $100 bill.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was a big thing for us in the moment, but it was even bigger for me to know what he was carrying. Yeah. And most of the people that we play for are carrying something.
Yeah.
So
when you lighten their burden, I mean, I have a song that I do called Cleveland, Ohio, that's about a journey, and you don't find out till the end that the journey is for someone to that they're driving across the country and describing each state that they're going through. Ohio, Pennsylvania, that endless Pennsylvania, Route 80, Route 84. Yeah, it just goes on, and mind-numbing, actually. Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm almost home. No, you're not. You're not. But the feeling, especially when I lived in New York, and you'd be coming home, and you'd see the New York City skyline from across, and you'd be like, oh, I'm almost there. But in this story, it was, I didn't even know how it was going to end when I wrote it, but it ended up with the person going onto the ferry at Hoboken and getting on and throwing the ashes in the water. And that was the last line. And I didn't want to do it tonight because it's holiday time. I don't want to bum people out. But when I played that song, I played it one time, and this woman came up to me afterwards, and she was just sobbing. And she said, oh, we have something in common. I did a journey just like that with my husband. I didn't have the heart to tell her like I made up the story. It was kind of based on little bits and pieces, and it was really based on a journey I wished I'd been able to make for a friend. So that's why it was so heartfelt. But when she said to me, it just, thank you, it just really, it made me feel better. Because I think the reason people like to hear sometimes sad and difficult songs, it makes them feel like they're not alone. And, like Mary Gauthier, she'll say, you touch someone, you touch that piece of them, that everyone needs mercy, and Yeah. So yeah, and you do that really well, and you know, it just, when I heard your songs, I was like, oh, I really like this guy's songs. I want to hear more. So now I want to like go through, and I hope your show with Greg comes around. If you ever bring it to Austin, that would be great.
We definitely will.
But when things resume, I'll be going back up to the tri-state area again, because I lived there for so long. I seem to be able to get gigs easier there than down here for some reason. I don't know why. Better gigs. Because people are like, we haven't seen you in so long. It's so great. So they'll come out. Down here, it's like, oh, well, we could see you anytime. It doesn't really matter. You're old hat, you know? So, yeah. So sometimes it's nice to go back. But anyway, thank you so much for being my guest, and I want to thank people for watching. People seem to like the stories. Barbara Dean said she liked the stories. Your friend Peaches is waving again. She's having a good time. And I like how her name is Peaches, and her little icon there is peach.
And how cool is that?
Yeah. And Captain Gary came on to say hi too.
Ah, Gary, yeah, he's up on the Great Lakes.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that must be nice and cold. And I know people are having a snowstorm right now in the Northeast. My son's in New
actually,
York.
matter of fact, it's snowing here now.
Ooh, we don't get that here. Once in a while, it's once in a blue moon. I want to thank those of you who have who've cast a little bit of money in the tip jar. That's been really super nice. Sorry, I'm moving this and making noise. We appreciate that as well. And there's my friend Anna, who I was telling you about before, my partner from down here, saying hi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Anna's music is beautiful. You have to, one of her songs was featured on All Songs Considered, so you have to check out her stuff. And she writes about difficult things too, like gun violence, and she's great. We have a lot of fun. So anyway, yeah. So if you're listening to Reggie's last song and you are so moved that you say, well, I'm just going to put $100 in the tip jar like that man. No, we don't expect that to happen, and that won't happen, and we don't want that to happen because everyone's buying presents. But if you're so moved, our little PayPals and everything are under there, along with our websites. Please go onto them, sign up for mailing lists. I know you have one, Reggie, because I went on there and I'm going to be signing up for it. And your website is wonderful because you write a blog, and it made me, I started writing about my songs on my website, but now I want to go back because I'm a writer too. I used to be a freelance writer. So, but anyway, enough about me jabbering. Thank you for joining the 50/50 hour, which will be more like the 50/50 hour and a half. And please tell me what you're going to end up with.
We will not rest until the storm is over. We will not lay this burden down. We will keep each other strong. We will love and carry on till we stand all together on solid ground. We will not rest till the storm is over. We will not lay this burden down. We will keep each other strong. We will love and carry on till we stand all together on solid ground. We will not rest till the storm is over. We will not lay this burden down. We will keep each other strong. We will love and carry on till we stand all together on solid ground. It's been a long, hard journey on a winding road. So many have gone before us. They carried a heavy load, but they went there singing as they made their way. Now it's in their footsteps we follow as we work today. We will not rest till the storm is over. Hey, we will not lay this burden down. We will keep each other strong. We will love and carry on till we stand all together on solid ground. I know that you're weary. We all feel the pain. Sometimes the actions of the world will try your soul again, but I believe there's a better day, and it's coming our way. That's why we're raising our voices as we work Today we will not rest till the storm is over. Hey, we will not lay this burden down. We will keep each other strong. We will love and carry on till we stand all together on solid ground. All around us there's hatred. All around us there's fear. Violence touches our lives, and the message is clear. We mourn our martyrs, and our hearts they'll stay. Then we'll sing, we shall overcome, and go on our way. We will not rest till the storm is over. Hey, we will not lay this burden down. Well, we will keep each other strong. We will love and carry on till we stand all together on solid ground. Till we stand all together on solid ground. Till we stand all together on solid ground.
Woo! Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Reggie Harris.
Thank you, Claudia Gibson.
And hang on a minute after we log off. And thank you everyone for watching, who were watching on Facebook, who were watching on YouTube, who were watching on someone just said I have to go to sleep now, but I was watching for a whole hour and a half. And wow. Thank you so much to that person who on Twitter, and to all of you who have joined us. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. It's last 2 nights of Hanukkah right now. Christmas is coming up. We hope that you can safely get together with everyone. So thank you so much, guys. And thank you, Reggie. Thanks again. And I am going to end now. Bye.